Good afternoon, everyone, and on behalf of West Virginia University, the WVU Athletic Department, Mountaineer Basketball, we sincerely thank you all for coming out here this afternoon for a very, very special occasion. It truly is a great day to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be. With us here today, we've got some West Coast folks with us, some LA, some Arizona, and it's so nice of them to bring their weather with us here, right? It's certainly a good thing that we didn't do this back in that snowstorm when there were 18 inches sitting right here. So weather has changed, and we've got ourselves an absolutely wonderful day. Today, folks, I think we could call this the completion of West Virginia's Twin Towers of basketball. Obviously, if you're a basketball fan, you remember Ralph Sampson and Akeem Olajuwon. They were the Twin Towers. This afternoon, we put the second tower together. Jerry there and Hot Rod here. This is truly a wonderful moment in the history of West Virginia University athletics. For those of you that have been here in the Morgantown area, you know that there's constantly movement and construction and things underway. This athletic department continues to move in large ways. Over $100 million in construction is going on right now on the WVU campus. As soon as basketball season is over, this Coliseum will go through a major renovation as well. So these are certainly exciting times. The man who is spearheading that here at WVU, would you please welcome our first speaker this afternoon, Athletic Director Shane Lyons.
Down there behind you. Thank you, Tony. As Tony says, it's a great day to be a Mountaineer, and again, welcome everyone to the unveiling of the Hot Rod Hundley statue. Today we honor another great Mountaineer with the second statue at the Coliseum Blue Gate Plaza. Along with the great Jerry West, today we dedicate the statue of Hot Rod Hundley. Hundley, a Charleston, West Virginia native, averaged 24.5 points per game during his career and earned consensus All-American honors in 1957. He led WVU to 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances, 3 straight conference titles, and still holds the school record for the most points in a game with 54. Absolutely. The Mountaineers were 72-16 with him in uniform. Hundley, Jerry West, Deshaun Butler are the only 3 Mountaineers to score more than 2,000 points during their career. He was the first player taken in the NBA draft in 1957 and was a 2-time All-Star. After finishing his playing career, Hundley went on to a Hall of Fame broadcasting career with the NBA, with CBS, the Los Angeles Lakers, Phoenix Suns, and Utah Jazz franchises. West's number 44 and Hundley's number 33 are the only 2 retired numbers in WVU basketball history. Although I was not here on January 23, 2010, I've been told many times about one of Hot Rod's last visits to the Coliseum. On that day, he was bestowed the great honor of having his number 33 jersey retired, and the fired-up student section begged the Clown Prince to take one more shot. Ever the showman, Rod took the ball and made his famous hook shot one last time in front of 14,000 fans that erupted with screams and applauses. Rod brought the house down once again. It was a day that will always be remembered in Coliseum history. I must thank Rod's daughters and members of the Hundley family for being here today and for their support and appreciation for Rod's home state and alma mater throughout the years. The Hundley family, you're always welcome at West Virginia University. I also want to recognize and thank the world-renowned artist and sculptor, Morgantown's own Jamie Lester. Jamie's around here somewhere. Jamie's in the back. Jamie has brought another statue to life, as with the Jerry West masterpiece. Jamie, you've done it once again. We are proud that both these statues have your name behind them. 2 great Mountaineers, works of art done by a true Mountaineer. You know, that's a great story, so thank you for your work. I have been told that Jamie stops by from time to time and cleans up and freshens up the Jerry West statue. Well, guess what, Jamie? Now you have 2 babies to take care of, so we look forward to that. There are many people to thank for this great day and far too many to mention individually, so let me take this time to thank all involved in this great effort. Thank you to all the friends and fans who contribute to this cause, along with the fine folks who help raise the funds. And yes, I must mention my friend Ken Kendrick for his role in this day. Thank you, Ken, for being the final piece to bring this dedication to reality. Thank you. Ken will speak later, but right now, I would like to call Ken up to help me unveil the Hot Rod Hundley statue.
Take this loop right off here,
Okay. Nope. That's why we need the artist.
Yeah. Glad we have an expert.
Ready? Over here. You stand here and I'll stand right here. That way we can, ready?
Ready?
Yep. Jamie, great work. And now I'd like to bring up Rod's three daughters to present them with a miniature replica of their dad's statue. Would Kimberly, Jackie, and Jennifer please join me in front of their dad's statue? Ken, would you also come up, please? No, we'll get the last minute. One at a time.
There's a fourth one there.
Yeah, there's one for Ken.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your one's in. You want to take a photo? Very cool. Let me close by saying this. The phrase, once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer, is very important to me. One of the reasons why our department is having the success it is today is because of being a member of a Power 5 conference and because of our storied past and great tradition. We can proudly say that Hot Rod Hundley will forever provide a link to our past. Starting today, this Coliseum Blue Gate Plaza will display the likeness of two of the finest players in West Virginia University history and two of the finest to ever, yes ever, to play the game. Thanks to everyone for being here today, and let's go Mountaineers.
Thank you, Shane. Beautiful, huh? How about that? Absolutely perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And by the way, Jamie's a West Virginia guy, in case you don't know, Oceana, proud Oceana guy. So thank you so much. Shane just mentioned, once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer. And that rings true, obviously, with the community and the family of WVU Athletics now. We're talking about a Mountaineer that played here in the 1950s. Our next speaker brought that together. As you probably well know, Bob Huggins has a fantasy camp each year, and he wanted to make sure that he was connecting with those guys, not only from the recent times of Mountaineer basketball, but from the days of the golden era of WVU basketball. Hot Rod Hundley was one of those fantasy camp counselors, and yes, those folks had absolutely invaluable times when he was here. Would you please welcome the head coach of our West Virginia Mountaineers, Bob Huggins.
I just got to say I was really impressed with your agility, jumping up there on the statue. Hand-eye coordination needs a little work, but Listen, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to attend this great university and get the education that I got here. Thanks for the opportunity to play here. I grew up in Dug Hill. For those of you not familiar, that's suburban Saberton. Back to Holla, and listen to stories that my dad and my grandfather would tell me about these two great Mountaineers. And Jerry, thanks for everything that you've done. There's never been a time that I've reached out to you that you didn't respond and try to help us in whatever it was we needed. And ladies, thanks for sharing your dad with us. Sometimes you shared a little too much. For me, it was, at times I wish you would have called earlier in the night and said, it's time to go home, Dad. But we really do appreciate you. And this is, what a great honor to coach here at my alma mater and coach at a place that has two, not just Mountaineer legends, but legends in all of basketball, and two guys that'll be remembered forever. So I just want to say thanks. And Ken, thank you. Seems like every time we reach out to you, you respond. I might call you here soon. Now that you're in a charitable mood. But everybody, thanks. Thanks you all for supporting us. Thank you all for loving the Mountaineers the way we do. Thank you much.
Thank you, Hugs. As I said earlier on, the unveiling of this statue today completes the Twin Towers here at WVU, Tower 2 and Tower 1. And we are so honored and thrilled to have Jerry West with us here this afternoon. For those of you that follow Mountaineer basketball history, as you know, WVU had a stretch of 4 consecutive All-Americans, one after the other after the other. There was Hot Rod, and then there was our next speaker. Would you please welcome Mr. Jerry West.
First of all, thank you very much. It's great to be back in West Virginia, and actually it's the weather is perfect for Mr. Hundley here today. So I think when I had this honor attributed to me, it was snowing that day, so they think a hell of a lot more than me, him than they do me. But anyway, first of all, I guess for his daughters, he was a friend of mine. I knew him when things were great. I knew him when things weren't so great. And I also knew him as a person. I didn't know him as Hot Rod. In deference to him, I always called him Rod. To me, Hot Rod was something that I didn't think was becoming of the man that he was. Bob got up here and spoke a little bit, and I would rather have a little humor than be serious, to be honest with you. But I came to one basketball camp when he and Rod were here, and I looked at him the next day, and I said to both of them, how much sleep do you get? Absolutely zero. I don't think there was a keg of beer left in town, was there? Of course, Bob, it was what Bob wasn't doing, Rod was doing all of it. But, I got to know him here when I was a freshman in college. Freshmen couldn't play when I was here. He was part of, I guess, a recruiting process for me when I was in high school. He was the sponsor of East Bank High School, which is no longer in existence, and we somehow, some way won a championship. And Rod was there every day for me. Barbara Schaus, who's here, Fred Schaus was the coach then, and Barb was, of course, was his wife. And I think they thought that Rod really swayed me to come to West Virginia. It would, if they hadn't have offered me a scholarship here, I'd been the most broken-hearted kid in America. But thanks to Rod and Fred, they allowed me to come here to the university of my choice. The one thing I would like to say about him is that Rod said to me one time in his life, he said, I wish I had taken this game as seriously as you had taken as a player. He was fun-loving, and he was a tremendous player. And I think somewhere along the way, he got mixed up from being a college player to being a professional player. Professional basketball is cold. If you don't produce they don't want you. And if you don't produce at a high level, seemingly you're not able to survive. But he had a terrific career, but I think he was never fulfilled with what he felt he could accomplish. Honestly, I think his greatest achievements came as an announcer. He was beloved by all, and he had the chance to work with the voice of the Los Angeles Lakers, someone who people who heard him by the name Chick Hearn, the late Chick Hearn. Rod stole every one of his favorite lines. And I told him, too bad that they didn't have a copyright on him. He would never have been able to say anything on the air. But he had enormous success in his stays in Los Angeles and Phoenix as an analyst. And when he got to Utah, that's when he really established himself as one of the premier announcers in basketball. But more than that, he was a friend of mine, someone that I knew completely different than this statue here. I'd always admired him when I was a player. Never had a chance to play with him except in the NBA because freshmen couldn't play then. But playing against him in practice as a freshman was fun. Barbara's husband wouldn't allow us to do that anymore because we were beating them a little bit. And that wasn't good for their confidence. But having said all this, I'm thrilled to be here today. I wouldn't have missed this for anything. And to the daughters, I will tell you, he was a great guy, fun to be with. You obviously know about that. But you should be thrilled, and Ken, thank you for your enormous contribution here to get this done. But to all West Virginia fans, I came here for this today, but the last time I came here to a game, we were playing LSU. We didn't win that game. So, Bob, the pressure's on you today. We got to win this game today. And last but not least, Rod, I know somewhere up there, if you're up there, wherever you are, I'm going to be right beside of you, I promise you. But I know you will forever view this as an incredible honor for you, and too bad you weren't here to see this. But I'll treasure the day I came here and have my first meeting with you. Good luck to everyone, and to the daughters, congratulations, you had a great dad.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Our next speaker is a native of Princeton, West Virginia, graduated from WVU in 1965, so he was a little bit younger than Hot Rod, but as a kid growing up, he had heard the Hot Rod legend, and moving to Arizona, relationship, that's where Rod was a good chunk of his career in Arizona. They developed a friendship, and without Ken Kendrick, this does not stand here today. Would you please welcome Mr. Ken Kendrick? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Tony. You stole my opening line, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's a great day to be a Mountaineer. How about that, huh? You know, when I go back to being a young boy growing up in Princeton, I, like all of you in growing up, loved the Mountaineers. And my first ever hero in Mountaineer sports was this guy. How about that? And in those days, life was a little more simple and things were a little different. And I listened to the games, Jack Fleming, broadcasting Rod's games on the radio, and I kept score. And, and I loved the Mountaineers. And through my youth, I only had the opportunity to watch Rod play one time in person, in 1957, down in Bluefield near where I grew up. And it's actually Rod Thorne at the memorial for Rod Hundley told the story that I'm about to tell of being at that game when West Virginia was playing VMI, and we're kicking them all over the court. And Rod was ready to have a good time, and he always seemed to do that beyond any other college player I ever saw. And in this particular game, Mountaineers are winning by 30 or so, and they're on defense, and all of a sudden you see Rod take off. He runs down to the offensive end of the court. He jumps up onto the basket, sits on the basket, motions for them to throw him the ball. They finally get the ball. Rod jumps down. They throw him the ball. This absolutely happened. Goes to the corner, shoots the ball from behind his back, hits the rim, bounces back to him, shoots it a second time from behind his back in the corner, swishes it. Only time I ever saw him play. Obviously, something you just wouldn't forget. A lot of years pass. I have the great pleasure to get to know him and got to know him very well on a particular weekend here in Morgantown, a little more than 10 years ago. He had done something pretty unusual, and it was that literally 50 years after he left this campus, he came back and got his diploma. And by virtue of accomplishing that, he was eligible to be inducted into the Alumni Academy Hall of Fame. And my good fortune was that I got to be a part of that same evening and be inducted with Rod. So we spent a weekend together having great times. As any of you who have heard stories about him know, he was just about as fun-loving a person as ever walked this earth. And I had the pleasure of up close and personal enjoying some really, really good times with him. And the girls have given me permission to tell a little story about the way that weekend ended. And it tells you a lot to me. It's a little kind of identifies with me personally, but it tells you the fun-loving guy that he really was. We were down at the Waterfront Hotel at the end of a weekend of a lot of fun, and being at a basketball game, being at a couple of ceremonies, being at an event at the president's home. So, a number of interactions. And so the late night, end of the weekend, Saturday night, down at the Waterfront Hotel in the bar. And Rod, as he always did, was holding court. Now, Rod was known as America's guest. He was frugal. Another way of saying Rod never paid. Well, this particular night, we're there, and as would be the case, Rod is holding court in the bar, surrounded by lots of folks, and old Ken and a few of his teammates from his college days are sitting over in the corner, and we're observing, and they're grousing about Rod and how Rod was America's guest, and they had known him for all these years, nearly 60 years. And Ken, Rod has never, ever bought a drink, ever, not once. Absolute true. 2 minutes later, one of the waitresses comes over with a tray, one beer on the tray. She said, "Is one of you Mr. Kendrick?" I said, "Yeah, it's me." She said, "Mr. Hundley wants to buy you a beer." So from that point forward, my claim to fame as a West Virginian is I'm the only guy who Rod Hundley ever bought a beer for. How about that? Now, as some of you will remember Paul Harvey, and now for the rest of the story. So I tell this story a lot to people. Rod's, by the way, a legend in Phoenix, Arizona, and was well known, worked with the Suns a few years as a color commentator, and left a mark even though he went on and did most of his broadcasting in Utah. He's well known and always beloved in Phoenix. And so I've told the story many times. Well, I'm talking to Kimberly on the phone, and I thought, well, I should tell Kimberly this story. So I do. And at the end, she says, "Well, Ken, I hate to break the news to you." I said, "Really? What's that?" She said, "Well, Rod was being comped at the hotel. Perry Petropoulos bought your beer." So, legend that he was, he truly was America's guest, and so far as we know, that's as close as he came to buying somebody a beer. But looking up at him, he's in a deserved place. I have a feeling he's here with us today. I know he's here in the eyes of his daughters and his grandson. He was a great, great Mountaineer, someone that I will never forget, and I'm proud that I was able to be a part of honoring him. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ken. Our final speaker this afternoon, the ladies have been referenced here. Rod's three daughters are with us here today, and his grandson Tanner is with us here as well. Delighted to have them here with us. Would you please welcome Rod's daughter, Kimberly Hundley.
You can hold it or you can use that.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Hi, West Virginia. I am wearing my dad's old warm-up jacket. They don't make polyester like this anymore. My father loved West Virginia, and West Virginia loved him back. When my sisters and I were kids, Dad used to assure us that he was a hero in West Virginia. And we were like, yeah, whatever, Dad. Get a room with yourself and your ego. Since Dad graduated here in 1957, left here, he returned to the country roads of his home state countless times. He always knew he would have friends here, that there would be people here that he loved and that would love him, and that he would find the acceptance from the people of West Virginia that was denied him as a near orphan who grew up on the streets of Charleston. Dad died last year at 80, and in his last couple of years, he spoke increasingly about his longing to move back to West Virginia. Maybe Morgantown or maybe Charleston. Here he is, he's pushing 80, he's lived in Salt Lake City and Phoenix for decades. We all live in Phoenix and Los Angeles, but Dad was trying to hatch this plan that he was going to move back to West Virginia, and he was taking us all with him, all of us. And he just kept saying, I want to go home. My sisters and I, admittedly, didn't really understand how much Morgantown loved Dad until we were here in 2010 for the ceremony to retire his jersey, number 33, at the Coliseum. Shortly after the festivities, we three girls stopped at a little bar called Jean's here in Morgantown. This place has been there since the 1950s. I went there seeking a genuine West Virginia hot dog, frankly. And when we got there, we mentioned our association to Hot Rod. Now, were we perhaps hoping that there was a free beer in it for us? Yes, we were. Were we perhaps dismayed that every photo in there was of Jerry West and not one of Dad? Yes, we were. So we dropped the name Hot Rod, and all of a sudden, faces lit up. Some old-timers at the bar, one who was actually Dad's water boy when he played, began to tell us tales of how the town would empty when Dad was a Mountaineer, even for freshman games. His fellow students, neighbors, families flocked to the field house to see this young, confident, cocky upstart, Hot Rod, Master Hundley, they called him in those days, put on his show, dribbling behind his back with his knees, rolling the cowhide globe up and down his arms, humiliating opponents with Harlem Globetrotter-like antics, and, most important, annihilating the competition. I had gray-haired men tell me how my dad's homegrown talent, mastery, and glee on the court brought Morgantown a sense of pride that they hadn't felt before, they told me, of togetherness, of community, of joy that transformed this town. Hot Rod Hundley, they told me, was a hero. So my bad, Dad. Dad ended up joining us at the bar, and word started to spread. Soon fathers, daughters, grandchildren were flocking in, and my father loved it. He was signing autographs. He was guest bartending. He was joking. He was flirting. He was back in the limelight, surrounded by the people he loved, shouting, "You gotta love it, baby!" That was my dad. And that's when I finally got it. And now, here is a statue of my dad. Would Dad want a statue? Once, when his coach benched him, he led the Mountaineer crowd in a cheer, "We want Hundley! We want Hundley!" Until Charles had no choice but to let him back in the game. Did my father want a statue? You're damn right he did. This would have meant the world to him. Because this would have shown him that people thought he deserved something like this, that West Virginia loved him enough to make something like this happen. So let me thank the university for keeping his legacy alive, Ken Kendrick for his incredibly generous donation to make this statue a reality. My family is deeply moved and appreciative beyond words. Coach Bob Huggins, the Hugs, Dad loved you and your passion for making sure that Dad was continuing part of West Virginia in recent years. Jamie Lester, the sculptor, for his talent and his dedication to this project. And let me thank the Mountaineer Nation for embracing my dad then and now, and for giving him something, for filling a hole in his life that even his family could not. And last, I'd like to thank the man that gave my sisters and me such an unusual and rich life, a man of excesses, a man who overcame the odds and did it with a mocking grit, a ready wit, and overwhelming zest for life. Hot Rod Hundley, number 33 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Now let's go kick some Oklahoma butt. Is that so hard? Do it!
There's nothing else to add after that. That's the exclamation point. Kim, thank you. Ladies, thank you so very much. Well, folks, here it is. It's not going anywhere. I'm sure pictures will start and have a wonderful time. Obviously, there is a huge game here this afternoon. We'll tip it off at 4. Hugs, no pressure. Jerry put no pressure on you at all. No big deal. Just number 3. All right, here we go. Once again, on behalf of everyone, thanks so much for turning out here. Enjoy this absolutely beautiful weather, and let's get inside here and beat the Sooners. Thanks again, everyone.